Good day and welcome to the arena on KAFTAN Television Abuja. My name is Pius Awunah. The former military head of state, the late Sani Abacha, once said, any insurgency that lasts for more than 24 hours, someone in position of authority is involved. We have different groups of insurgency that lasted for years. They are operating even as we talk now on the program. Is someone in position of authority involved? You will get to know this and more after the break. Don't forget, this is the arena. Stay cool. Welcome back from the break. Don't forget, this is the arena on KAFTAN Television Abuja. If you are just joining us, today we are going to be looking at this question: is the Nigerian government serious about its fight against insecurity in the country? Is the Nigerian government serious on its fight against insecurity? And I have a guest with me in the studio to look at this topic together. We know insecurity is what has been disturbing. Even as we talk now, I don't think people are sleeping with their two eyes closed. Let me take you back to set the record straight. The ongoing administration under the leadership of President Buhari, while in opposition party, that was before 2015 general elections, he condemned the idea of declaring Boko Haram as a terrorist organization. The same man in 2012 was nominated alongside 5 other persons to negotiate with the then government of President Goodluck Jonathan for how they can end the operation. So people were asking questions. Why is Buhari being nominated by Boko Haram to negotiate with the government? This was a very big issue. A lot of people may not remember that for now. That's why I'm bringing it back to your attention. A lot of things happened before 2015 general election. Bomb blasts, a lot of insecurity issues. 2015 came, we had new elected leaders. The president promised to end insurgency December, to be precise, in that very year, 2015. This 2015 is gone. We are in 2022 today. We still have Boko Haram. We even have more like bandits, Fulani herdsmen attacking in different parts of the country, killing people in thousands. Kidnappers everywhere. We are going to now be looking at this issue of insecurity. Is Nigerian government really serious in its fight against insecurity? With me in the studio is Mr. Adeyiga. He is a public affairs analyst. You're welcome on the program, sir.
It's my pleasure.
I will still want you to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Adeyiga, the Chief Executive Officer of Educatio Consulting Limited, and also a public expert analyst.
Welcome on the program. This is the arena where only the truth is allowed to be said. You listen to some of the things I have said so far. A lot happened, more than what I've said. We have the ongoing administration fighting, according to them, fighting to end insecurity. But it is very unfortunate that the efforts are not yielding the needed results. I would like to start with this big question, which is at the same time our topic for the discussion. Did you think the government is serious in its fight against insecurity?
Thank you very much, Mr. Pius. First and foremost, before we go into the word insecurity, I think it will be very, very okay, and it becomes so much imperative that we lay a foundation of what security itself is all about. Because when we understand the foundation of the security, then we can be talking about the current situation we have found ourselves as a nation. When you're talking about the security, it is the sole responsibility and duty of the government to ensure that lives and property are being protected, kept safe, institutions protected, economics protected, everything that has to do with a sovereign state has to be protected. That is security. But today, what we are witnessing today is far away from the word security, because the government of the day seems to be lackadaisical in their approach to fighting the menace called insecurity in Nigeria.
Before you should continue, you say the government of the day seems to be lackadaisical. Why would you say that?
Yes, the reason why I would say the government of the day are not proactive in their measures in mitigating this menace called insurgency alongside insecurity is the fact that you will remember about 4 months ago, Kaduna-bound train that was supposed to be going to Kaduna was attacked by a group of terrorists. And in the same train, many people were killed. Some were, kidnapped, and they were adopted. And also is the point that about 43 of those who were kidnapped were still in the captive till today. They were still in the captivity. All right? And importantly, in April, precisely 2021, our defense training was attacked. Okay? The military NDA was attacked. And to be precise, 2 people were killed, 2 officers were killed, and 1 was actually captured. And till today,
some are still in the captivity.
Some are still there. And the information made it known that even those that were released, ransom was allegedly paid for them to be, to be released. And I remember some few months ago, the governor of Niger State, talking of Governor Abubakar Bello, said to us that terrorists have actually hosted the surrounding and the environs of Federal Capital Territory, that the government should do the needful by being proactive in mitigating and get prepared. But the reality, after 15 months, is what we are witnessing today. And if you remember very vividly as well, the advance convoy of the Mr. President was going to Katsina, and some of them were attacked. And just this week that passed, some officials of the military were going to the law school on a distress response. And along the line, they were also attacked. A proactive, serious government has gotten enough information as an intelligence report to work with if actually they are serious about fighting corruption and, this so-called insurgency alongside with terrorism in the country.
That means government is not serious in its fight against insecurity.
No, the government is not serious about it. I've said to you, when you're talking about security, are we safe? What is safe about the terrorists saying they're going to adopt or kidnap the president of the country alongside with the governor of Kaduna, Governor Herufai? I hope you heard that in the news.
Yes, the presidency came out to say that it's just a laughable, the statement is something they will just laugh at it. How could they say such, that they will kidnap the president and alongside with the governor of Kaduna State? That is something funny. Of course, we have witnessed some threats by the same terrorists in the past, and they were able to successfully, execute them. So it is unfortunate that we are experiencing this. Let's look at this very issue. We are just here to ensure that at least we bring some of these things to the public in case some people have forgotten some of these issues, and to discuss them and to more importantly look at the way forward at the end of the discussion. You remember the arrested Boko Haram terrorists
Absolutely.
In fact, they have been released by the ongoing administration in the name of pardon. These are the same people that have been fighting, killing people, taking over the communities, destroying property, and the same government that claimed to be fighting them succeeded in getting some of them arrested, in capturing some of them, and the same government has set them free. Then someone will wonder, what are you fighting? I want you to share your opinion, in that direction.
Well, most of those issues, if you look at them, it has some level of political undertone working behind the scene. Just like as you rightly said earlier on, that whenever an insurgency lasted more than 24 hours, it has a kind of a political influence on it. Well, the strategy adopted didn't just start with the Boko Haram. The strategy was actually used with the so-called the Niger Delta militants. And along the line, this very set of people were reintegrated into the system. So to speak, it worked at that level to some extent for the militants at the Niger Delta region. But in this very contextual case of banditry, Boko Haram is not working. And this has been one of the reasons why some set of people tagged Buhari administration as a biased government in terms of its approach to some national issues. All right? Because basically, what is the rationale behind people who have been convicted by competent court being returned back to the society without any form of rehabilitation as a process to actually transform them before reintroducing them back into the society? I think those are the points that that one could actually say the government of the day is not serious in fighting, the terrorist attack that we are witnessing in different parts of the country. And the one very nasty thing about this very thing, this ugly, heinous act, is that when you fail to correct the bad incidents, it has a very great propensity of repeating itself because you've already set a very bad precedence for other people. Because when those people who are caught were not punished for the offense committed, it serves as an opportunity for others to actually perpetrate such heinous act. And that has been what has been happening in the country.
Or the kind of encouraging others to do same. You begin with the issue of Niger Delta, how the same approach was used there. I remember some people still criticize that the Niger Delta were fighting for their right. Government took over what is the major source of income for the entire country. And they are still living very as poor, people. They don't have good water to drink, not good road. They were just agitating for, fighting for what was their right. And that was the reason why the former president, the late Yaradua, saw that it is good for him to give them amnesty, and that amnesty worked. But if you are saying the same thing should be done to the other insurgency like Boko Haram, did you think they deserve to be given amnesty? What actually are they fighting for? As we know that of Niger Delta.
Well,
do they deserve to be given amnesty for them to also surrender? even though many of them refused to surrender, and during the fight, the army successfully arrested them after they have also succeeded in killing some army officers. Then the same government that is fighting them is giving them pardon. My question is this: do they deserve amnesty the same way it was given to the people of Niger Delta?
Well, I don't think they actually deserve to be pardoned on that level of, committed offense. Reason being, the ideology behind the groups we're talking about differs. Like you wanna know, Niger Delta agitators were fighting for the economic issues of their land being taken by the government of the day, and the government of the day failed to develop that region, and as a result of that, they were revolting against the government of the day, which is commonsensical, because you cannot come to my land, take my resources, deploy my land to the level of not being able to use it for farming process, and you think you can take the resources from such land and go away with it. I think their home fight is quite very justifiable. But the issue of these very banditry, Boko Haram, and some other Islamic jihadists we have in the northern part and some other region of the country, when you ask them, what is the rationale behind their attack on civilians, destroying the national institutions, destroying the virtues of the country,
attacking military too.
Military formations of the country, they don't have any reasons for the violent attack of the evil act they are perpetrating. They don't have any reason. And that is the reason why the government of the day needs to take a decisive measure to ensure that an end is put to the heart in the country.
Whether we like it or not, it is the fact that unemployment contributes to what we are experiencing today. Many youth are idle. And you can agree with me, I think the beginning of this year or like 2-3 months ago, we heard how the insurgency were recruiting more people to join them. If these guys that they were recruiting them were busy doing something reasonable with their life, let's say they were engaged by the government to do legitimate work and earn a living, where they will not be sleeping and be thinking of what to eat the next day, I don't think they will make themselves available to be recruited to work as member of this group that are terrorizing the country. So whether we believe it or not, lack of employment for the unemployed youth is one of the reasons we are experiencing this. I would like to hear your contribution on that.
No two way about it. Absolutely. Unemployment, alongside with poverty and corruption, have been the bedrock as a causer for these very menace we are talking about, because one of the best book on earth says, understand, idle hand is a devil's workshop. Okay, so the unemployment on its own is a factor that the government can actually use as a tool to mitigate the issue and proliferating banditry in the country, because an unemployed entity becomes a very easy virtue to be used for such heinous acts. And that is the reason why it becomes so much easy for these so-called leaders of these extreme sects to get them inducted easily because they don't have something doing. And that is one of those things some organizations and some developed countries have been saying. Military action alone will not be a measure to fight against Boko Haram or insurgency or what we have now as, the banditry. Most of it will come from the political end. And political end with giving the citizen good governance. Giving the citizen good governance. Good governance in the context of good education. Good economic stability. All right? And, when all of these are provided, definitely the country tendency to be used for this very heinous act we're talking about will be drastically be reduced. Because there's this very theory that actually says that most of this insurgency we're having in the country is a function of what we call protracted social conflicts. Protracted social conflict emerge as a result of poverty, unemployment rate that is increasing, marginalization, lack of resources, allocation at the national level and also at the local level. These are the major reasons that have been contributing to the proliferation of these various so-called banditry. So I agree totally with you that education, unemployment has a very great impact to mitigate this very banditry and insurgency we are witnessing in Nigeria today.
You made a mention of marginalization as one of the reasons for this. So I will want you to explain how is marginalization also part of the, the reason why we are facing what we are facing now. And I will tell you why I asked you to explain that.
Of course. If we check the democratic administration that has occurred since 1999 to date, why is it that in this country no Igbo man has been given the opportunity to become the president in this country? Is it that we don't have people who could actually participate at the national level to represent the interest of the nation? Why are the so-called ECN and the hip-hop bombing, destroying the institutions of the country? It's a function of perceived marginalization because they felt they've not been given equity right of participating at the national level as to the presidency is concerned. And now they are thinking the best way or the solution to that, which I personally don't agree with, is for them to separate from the country and get their own, nation, as it were. I don't personally agree with that because coming together is a strength. And every nation has gotten its own strength, has gotten its weakness, has gotten its own threats, has gotten its own opportunity. Our togetherness is an opportunity for us as a nation.
Our togetherness is an opportunity for us as a nation. I will want to ask you this. When you are talking of the marginalization and you mention only Igbo, whereby we have other ethnic groups that some of them have never even, their own people have never even made the position of a Senate president, Speaker of the House of Rep, not to talk of being the president. Did you think you are being fair to them?
I used Igbo just because they are one of the major, when we're talking about the history of the country Nigeria, Igbo, Yoruba, and Hausans are the three core, major ethnic group.
I am aware of that,
but within the country.
By doing so, are we being fair to other ethnic groups? Because
we are not being fair. We are not being fair.
Neglected.
We are not being fair. What I'm just trying to say is that we have an issue on ground, which is a problem, and the problem could actually be, be addressed through that as a kind of solution, because it's one of the major causes. Marginalization is one of the major causes in which people felt they are not given equal right at the national level of, administration. And that has, brought up a lot of violence, attacks, destruction within our nation. Other regions are supposed to be given an opportunity, as it were, as well. And to some extent, we can say we have not gotten a national leader, a nationalistic leader, as it were, that will carry all the nooks and crannies of the country as to citizens along in terms of equal representation at the level of, national issue.
At the north, where we have the Boko Haram, the banditry and the rest, the Fulani herdsmen, have they been marginalized? Why are they doing this? Then, there's another issue about the marginalization I want us to look at. We have 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, FCT. And we have people all from all these states. They are ethnic groups that constitute the state. They have representatives at even local government level, the state level, and at the federal level. But when you go to their various places, you see that these places are not developed. The various representatives collect what they're supposed to go and develop their places and pocket it to make, use of it as their own personal resources. We have senators as a National Assembly. For example, from Benue State, the 3 senators we have there, they are not people in the north. First of all, the governor of Benue State, who is always criticizing the federal government and accuse the Buhari administration of being complicit in the issue of insecurity, is somebody from the state. Is not a Hausa man from Kano. Do you look at that? In Lagos State, the governor is not somebody from the north. It's not from Jigawa State. What am I trying to say here? These people who are complaining of marginalization, they have their own people who are representing them in all the, the level of governance. And their people are still not doing what they're supposed to do to empower them to develop their areas. And they still blame the federal government of marginalization. I want to share your opinion on that. Do you agree with me? Are they really doing what they're supposed to do for their people? In this case, can we still talk about marginalization?
Well, to an extent in that respect, I've always been telling people, leadership to governance is about a leader and a follower, okay? And both are intricately linked together. You cannot be talking about leadership without considering those who are coming behind, because the responsibility of a leader is actually to take his own people from where they are to the next level of where they ought to be in terms of development and growth, all right? So when you consider the multi-dimensional problem of Nigeria, Nigerians are the problem of Nigeria.
Nigerians are the problem
of Nigeria.
Yes.
For instance, now, when you go to the level of allocation of resources for constituency, we have been to different constituencies in which allocated fund for development in that region is not actually being used for the purpose for which it ought to be used for. And you don't expect Mr. President to come and do this. You don't expect the minister. The only responsibility of the minister is to ensure that that project has been executed the way it ought to be executed. But then it's still your own sole responsibility as a representative of that region to actually make sure the appropriate earmarked fund is used for the project it ought to be used for. So we have complex of problems that are actually bringing about all of these issues. And that is why I will still go back to my point that Nigerians are the problem of Nigeria. All right? Look at the case of what is happening today as to, the fuel insufficiency within the state, within FCT. To some extent, you find out that even the petrol owners, petrol station owners, they have decided to be ordering the fuel against the utilization of it by the masses, all right, which is bringing about a kind of a systematic scarcity within the region.
Which is bringing about a kind of a systematic scarcity within the region. I want you to hold on from there. We'll go on a break. We'll come back after the break, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back from the break. Don't forget, this is the arena on KAFTAN Television. We are looking at this question, and the question is our topic for today. Is the Nigerian government serious in its fight against insecurity? And my guest is still with me in the studio. I want us to look at this issue. As I mentioned it in my introduction, a lot of people may not be familiar with it, because in Nigeria we intend to forget things in a hurry. Before the arrival of Buhari as the president of Nigeria in 2015, he was one among those that kicked against the declaration of Boko Haram as a terrorist organization. He was against it. The same man was nominated by the same Boko Haram alongside 5 other persons to represent them and negotiate with the then government or president. People are not looking at this in this way. The same man became the president of the country and has been setting free the arrested members of the group. Remember, I said the former head of state, Sani Abacha, once said that any insurgency that lasts for more than 24 hours, someone in authority is involved. I'm not saying Mr. President is involved. I'm not saying anybody in authority is involved. But looking at the way things are happening, look at what transpired and what is happening now. While in opposition, you were against the declaration of these people as a terrorist organization. Then, you came in as a president, and you have set members of the same group free after being arrested by the military. Is it not something that people should be disturbed about?
Wow. That's a very, very deep analogy to have a great critical thinking on. Reason just because, let's refresh our memory back to 2015. One of the, the strategy, political strategy that brought in President Buhari was the fact that APC sold to us the concept of ideology that Buhari is coming as a major general. And being a major general, having a military background, he will be able to fight insurgency and put to an end what we are witnessing today. But it's quite unfortunate, very unfortunate, that what we are experiencing today is away from what the expectation of Nigerians were or are as to the current situation, because there's no more safe place in the country anymore. Some few weeks ago, some group of terrorists went to Kuje prison and released the so-called criminals who have been convicted inside the prison and let them out into the society.
Even a few days ago, there was an attack on the military, along Buhari, this Abuja-Kaduna Expressway.
Absolutely.
And that made them took over the entire FCT that very day. And
when you look at the information in the public domain, the perception and the trending, there were some trending videos I watched on the media that a particular military was accusing the major generals of being complicit, that whenever they get an hold of this so-called Boko Haram, there is always a kind of a call that tells them, don't do anything to them, release them. Just to buttress the point, the fact that whenever you have an insurgency that is more than 24 hours, the government of the day has a hand inside of it.
This is a practical issue. Even aside that the video, we saw it, how for severally they have been set free by the same government that claimed to be fighting them.
So to me, it shows that the government of the day is not serious about the fight of the insurgency. It's crystal clear, because when you look at our military formations, years back when we are growing up, you dare not move closer or do any messy thing with a military man because of the training, the intelligence reports they have within them, and some other vital fighting tools they always use. But today, the terrorists are not afraid anymore of our military formation to tell you that there is a crack within the military constituency. There is a crack. Because if there's no crack, how will you make an operation to actually go and execute? Before you know it, such execution is thwarted by the action of a saboteur within the system. And these are the things some of the junior officers within the military formation have been complaining of over the time. And when they complain about it, the next thing the government or whoever is a senior personnel there is to shut them down. Shut them down. So if we are serious as a nation, because whether we like it or not, outsiders will not come to build this nation for us. It is we Nigerians that will secure our whole nation as a sovereign state. And if we fail in that responsibility, we can lay history to what happened in other neighboring African countries. And I pray that that never become our own,
Yes. Don't forget, on the arena, we are only trying to dig out the past issues in regards to what we are facing now. So we are not accusing anyone for anything. These are facts. You can check. This is true. Somebody was against the declaration of Boko Haram as terrorist organization. The same person came to power and has been setting them free. The same person was nominated by the same Boko Haram to represent them and negotiate with the then government. This is the truth. Is this not disturbing? I want us to look at the issue of governors, especially when I'm talking of governors. The first governor that comes to mind is Governor Otom of Benue State. This is the only man that has been speaking about the insecurity in the country. And Benue State seems to be one of the badly affected states. There's no day that you will not hear of killings in Benue State. Some of the things we watch on television and we read, from newspapers are just the bit of the bigger things that happen in that state than other parts of the country. Believe me or not. There's some information I get as a journalist from people that you can't read them in the paper, but these are the things that happen. They don't report them. Because sometimes media don't have access to those areas. And the journalists, they work with information. We are not magicians. We can't sit down here and manufacture information. We work based on what we witness and what it has been reported to us. And that is why in many reports, when you are reading, you see we are quoting an eyewitness. We are always giving you the source. This is the source of our information. According to this person, we mention names. So a lot about insecurity are happening in different parts of the country.
Okay.
Apart from banditry, apart from Boko Haram and other set of, insurgencies that we have in the country, their area boys. You go to many of these local communities in Abuja and the outskirts of Abuja. People are not sleeping with two eyes closed.
Absolutely.
They attack them in the night, collect their phones, their laptops, even collect their food. So you can see that there's even hunger in the land.
Absolutely.
You attack people, you even collect their food. It happened in one area, I know, in Asobi community. It has happened in Pape, severally. In fact, at a point in Pape, in the daytime, armed robbers, these boys will go and rob you. So there is insecurity everywhere. Everywhere. Now, I want us to look at the issue of governors, because initially it was only Governor Otom of Benue State that was calling on his citizens to own guns and defend themselves against the terrorist attack. But later, another person joined the call, the retired senior army officer, Danjuma from Taraba State. He called on his people too to own guns and defend themselves. We have the governor of Zamfara State did the same thing. I think the governor of Katsina State, that is the state of President Buhari, he did the same thing. And then the governor of Ondo State, the last time I checked, he said if they record any attack again in their state, his people will own guns and defend themselves. These are leaders. And they are calling on ordinary citizens to own guns and defend themselves. These are leaders that are supposed to provide solutions to the insecurity we are experiencing. These are leaders that they're supposed to create jobs to engage the youth so that the youth can be busy. They will not have time to go and do something that will be harmful to the society. They are calling on the citizens to own guns and defend themselves. And these guns, you know, you cannot be given for free. You have to buy them. I want you to share your opinion on that. It's about your opinion. I want to know.
Well, I vehemently kicked against, citizens taking arms in their own possession, considering the complexity and peculiarity of our own country. Reason being, when you give opportunity to an average Nigerian, is it that you're going to train them on how to use gun and you're going to have a law that will actually give them levels of, how they can, when to use the gun, so to speak? I don't know how you're going to do it. The fact just remains that it just shows the clueless leaders we have in governance at the state level. Okay? Because when you're talking about this very insurgency, violent right and left, and banditry in the center, Boko Haram there and there, the fact just remains you need to identify the root cause of this problem. You need to identify the root cause, and the root cause is that people are not given the right opportunity to livelihood. People are not given the right opportunity to livelihood. I remember I stumbled upon an article that said about 13 to 15 million of children are out of school within a particular state, and Bauchi is carrying the larger chunk of this very figure. All right? It shows that our leaders are not interested in engaging the minds of these youths towards something productive. It is only a productive mind that will be resourceful to the nation on a larger scale. So when you fail to educate this mind, when you fail to engage this mind, definitely violent attack, violent acts becomes their easy to use as a tool to survive. And that is one of the reasons for the arms proliferation that is taking course in different states of the country. Because there's poverty in the land. Great poverty in the land. And this poverty stems from corruption, because the money that's supposed to be used for the development of the regions, the money and funds, capital that's supposed to be used for the development of the region, has been pocketed by some minute set of people. And as a result, you don't witness development in that region. And the next thing is poverty becomes the order of the day. And as a result, as well, a poverty mind doesn't have the right mentality. A poverty-stricken mind doesn't have the right mentality. And as a result, they become susceptible and liable for any heinous act. Because when you look at it, these so-called people we're talking about, some of them don't even have money to purchase arms. So who is giving them the arms? Somebody procure the arms for them. Somebody gives them those arms. So the governors that are calling for citizens at the state level to be using gun for a defense should as well think about the consequences, grievous consequences of it in the long run.
But even apart from the issue of insecurity, where the governors are calling on the citizens to own guns and defend themselves, is it not right that as a citizen, must you be in the military, in the police force, or in any kind of military organization before you as a citizen, you know how to use gun? Just as a citizen, can't you, is it not right for a citizen to know how to use gun? Because in case of, okay, look at what, I'm asking this question because look at what happened in Ukraine.
Yeah.
The war between Ukraine and Russia. See how the citizens that never hold guns before in their life, they were given guns by the government of Ukraine to fight, to defend their country. So is it? I think I don't know. I just want I just want you to also re-examine your statement on whether the citizens should own guns to defend themselves or not. Even apart from insecurity, is it not right that as a citizen of a country or as a man for that matter, you should know how to use gun? You should be even given the training on how to do that, even if you are not going to use it. So for at least in case of anything, to defend your community, to defend your state, to defend where you live.
There is no law stating that a citizen or a nationalist of a country cannot hold a gun. There is no law within the country once you have a genuine purpose for you, procuring the gun based on maybe you have some, attacks by the robbers. You must have a cogent reason, because it has to be licensed by the appropriate institution for you to use it. And the peculiarity of our own country hasn't gotten to that level, because I remember, as far as I know, in Israel, one of the major requisites for you to actually go through their educational level is that while you are going through the training from secondary level, university level, there is a course on military that captures on, means and ways on how you can actually go about guns, how to use guns. In fact, they train you. Every citizen has one or two little idea about military action in Israel, as far as I know. And I believe some other countries as well. But in Nigeria, we are far from that. Some people don't, majority don't even know how to handle guns. And when you are talking about using gun, usage of gun, who regulates, and at what point do you actually take up gun to use it to defend yourself? At what point does it necessitate that you take up gun and use it to defend yourself? So those are complex issues that need to be defined. And once those ones are defined, there could be a way the government can go about it. But I would still want to say it is not the best approach, because the best way to mitigate the terrorism, the best way to mitigate terrorism in this country is giving the nation good governance. When you provide good government that people can work with without threat, without fear, going about their businesses, then the country will be viable and the economy itself will be prosperous. Look at, for instance, we have had cases of how farmers were being chased out of their farms. We have had cases of how farmers were being asked to pay ransom before they go into their farms.
That is precisely in Kaduna State,
Okay.
where they paid the sum of almost 40 or 400 million naira to the bandits to enable them, to allow them go to farm and carry out their farm work.
And we are complaining that naira is devaluing every day. You understand? The purchasing power of naira is going down every day. When there's no productivity, there's not going to be any profit margin. It's very, very simple. Because when you consider the capital formation, it's all about you making more profits against cost. So when people cannot go about their farming operation, their produce that is supposed to make the economy of the country buoyant, definitely the demand will be high. And once demand is high, the prices of commodity will go up. And this is a country that we're not even manufacturing the way we ought to manufacture. Very, very funny of a country that has all the resources, but yet the citizens are suffering.
It is unfortunate the governor of Kaduna State, Erufai, was one of those that used the insecurity as a point to campaign against Goodluck Jonathan in before 2015. And is now the governor of the state. And look at what is happening in the state. He has no control. The people have to pay, I think, precisely in bringing Gwali, local government area of the state, where people came together, the farmers came together, contributed that huge amount to pay bandits so that they can allow them to go to farm. That means we have to now be paying terrorists before they can allow us to go to farm. So how are we going to carry out our farm work, successfully? How are we going? And I'm telling you, despite the fact that we have crude oil that seems to be the major source of Nigerian income, for me, agriculture is our major source of income in this country. Absolutely. Yes, because this crude oil money is not reaching everyone. It's just going, the money realized from there is going to the pocket of the few individuals.
Absolutely.
They are using it for their own personal use. The agriculture, the farm work that we do in different states is what people are feeding on. You go to some state, salaries of workers are not paid. But because they farm, they carry for their farm, they eat. They don't have access to, they don't even have anybody in government that can at least provide something for them. Even those who are they are representing the entire area, collect the allocation that is meant for, for them, for something to be done in their area to benefit from. They pocket it.
Absolutely.
So farm work is, for me, is the major source of income that we have in this country, not even the crude oil. And then people cannot be allowed to go to farm and do their farm work. Absolutely. They have to pay. It's unfortunate. Yeah. We have been looking at the issue of insecurity in the country. Is the government really serious in its fight against insecurity? My guest is still with me in the studio. It's unfortunate that we are experiencing this at this time, and our government efforts seem to be unproductive because of what? We are not getting the needed result. Government is talking, promising to end this. This is not the first time we are hearing promise of, I'm going to end this insurgency. We had this promise before in 2015. That was the first time Mr. President came on board, President Buhari. He gave December precisely as a deadline for him to end the activities of the insurgency. But look at where we are today. Today is not only Boko Haram, We have banditry. Fulani has been killing everywhere. People kidnapping and a lot of things. People are no longer sleeping with their two eyes closed. Even apart from the banditry and the major terrorist groups that we know. In our homes, we don't sleep with two eyes closed. Somebody will break into your door at night, collect your phones, collect your laptops, even collect what you eat, for you to know that there is hunger in the land. The only thing we get is promise. And we don't see these people who make this promise get them fulfilled. It is unfortunate. I want us to look at the recent call by some senators to impeach the president. Did you think this is the right thing to do at this time?
Well, basically, there is no right or wrong time to impeach a leader who failed to perform his duty, as it were in the case of Nigeria. But then there are processes, there are legitimate processes that needs to be taken into consideration before such can be, achieved, as it were. I know it's a complex task for the senators and the other chamber of our legislative to actually get the Mr. President impeached. But then it is not something far-fetched. It's not something impossible, because lives cannot continue to be wasted the way it's getting wasted in Nigeria today. Late Madiba of South Africa said something very intriguing. Said, if you want to fight poverty, use education. So if you want to fight poverty, you use education as a tool.
Our universities are still on strike.
But then, last week, the government came up with a circular. Schools in Abuja should be closed because of terrorist attack. In fact, Veritas University has to shut down their academic session without the students writing their final exams. And there are fears and panic all over the environment. If anything is not working, not like education, because from it emanates great invention and innovations. And that is one of the reasons when things are not working in the government, a wise, decisive, proactive government goes to the university, which is a central universal environment, and gather information by way of investigation to find out a solution.
It is unfortunate that we don't have much time on this program. I want you to briefly share your suggestions of the way out. What did you think can be done? Of course, we have discussed some issues of engaging the youth, the kind of providing jobs for them. What other ways do you think, or what other things do you think government can do to really address the issue of insecurity?
Absolutely. The government needs to take the political will of giving the governance that is quality and good to the citizens of Nigeria. That's number one. And number two is the point that in the military, because the major work or the major framework to be used to mitigate is to brace up our military operations. And when I mean brace up our military operations, if there's a need to do a shake-off of removing some people so that new set of people can be recruited massively into the system, the government should take that as a suggestion, because in developed countries, there is to a particular ratio of protective military personnel to the citizens. If we are short of number of military or police force men that's supposed to be manning particular regions, kilometers to kilometers of the country, do a massive employment of the citizens and get them into the system.
Do the massive employment of the citizens and get them into the system. That was a nice one. Unfortunately, we don't have more time to discuss. There are a lot of issues to look at when you are talking about insecurity in the country. Before we call it a day on this program, I want you to remember this. In 2012, the Jonathan administration wanted to negotiate with Boko Haram. President Buhari, who was then in the opposition, kicked against that. The same man came into power, negotiated with the same terrorists, and has been setting them free. Before 2015, he was against the declaration of Boko Haram as a terrorist organization. The same Buhari was nominated by Boko Haram alongside 5 other persons. Some were former governors of the state. Prominent people in the north alongside with him, that they should be the representatives of Boko Haram to negotiate with the then government of President Goodluck Jonathan. They used that point of insecurity against Jonathan, and a lot were able to convince a lot of people. Being a retired military general, they believe he has a solution to the problem of insecurity we are facing. He came in, things escalated. This is the fact you can check. Is it not disturbing that the same person who was against the declaration of Boko Haram as a terrorist organization, the same person was nominated by the same Boko Haram to represent them and negotiate with the then government. And the same person came to power, has been setting free the arrested members of Boko Haram. Is it not disturbing? That is just the question. Thank you very much for always watching the arena on KAFTAN Television. We believe you enjoy the edition of it. Join us, same time, same station, next week for another edition of the arena. Don't forget, I've been speaking on this topic with Dr. Adeyiga. Very correct. And my name is Pius Awunah. Bye.